The match between Basher Munich and PXG is tied up at 2-2, and within the recent chapters, our main character hasn't been doing so hot. Chapter 280, however, brings Isagi yoichi the closest we've seen to a crash out, but like they say, every set back is really just a set up for victory. What's going on, everyone? It's Animasu here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Blue Lock Chapter 280, titled Wall of Prodigies. If you enjoy staying up to date with Blue Lock and want to support my channel, make sure to click that subscribe button and comment below your thoughts. Anyways, without further ado, let's see what happens when Isagi yoichi finally reaches his mental limit. Blue Lock's 280th chapter starts off with an overhead view of the deflected ball flying through the air, previously just inches away from ending out the game with a Kaiser impact Magnus. The announcers of course scream out with excitement and surprise as the divinely fast wonder child Julian Loki, he's managed to catch up and stop the Kaiser impact with his superhuman speed. With Yohori leading the charge for the loose ball being chased by Tokimitsu and Karasu, Loki is still in his crouched down pose as he turns to smirk at Isagi and Kaiser. Michael and Yoichi have differing looks of surprise and anger, as one just has had his game-winning shot blocked, and the other is entranced in analyzing the situation. Despite reacting to the Kaiser impact after visually seeing it fly through the air, Loki still managed to speed up and prevent it from piercing the net. With Nanase screaming out for the second ball, Tabito Karasu manages to beat everyone else out as he flies through the air. Using his head to make a quick pass, Karasu hands possession off to Zantetsu, telling him to lock in and use his stupid speed. He initiates by taking care of the first part by demonstrating his low IQ, saying that he's on his way as in weight rather than a directional sense. Zantetsu then follows through with the latter and demonstrates his speed, taking off with a dash that he refers to as a jet counter. Both Alexis, Ness, and Ryusei prepare themselves to defend, with Ness first being baited into making a poor leap in. PXG's speedster just easily cuts and continues forth, leaving Ryusei screaming for Kiyora and everyone else to just defend patiently. The perspective then switches over to Isagi yoichi, who is on the prow recovering just behind the barreling speedster. Activating his metavision as we get a close-up of him looking ahead, Isagi really only has one question in mind. What is the true meaning of a genius? With Zantetsu passing the ball off to shidou ryusei, Isagi continues on to say that up until now, he just assumed anyone amazing at the sport could be labeled as a genius. Julian Loki's display of insane speed, however, shattered that logic, because simply slapping a label onto him wouldn't explain the talent. With an overhead view of him sprinting in pursuit of Zantetsu while locked in, Isagi states that he must understand what makes a genius if he can hope to win here. He firstly labels people like Itoshi and Noah as on the level of genius. Both these players have transcended logic with their own unique and unimaginable playstyles, so if Isagi is to evolve, what label fits him, and how can he acquire those attributes himself? Speeding ahead to run alongside Noah, Isagi decides to ask his master for advice, specifically asking what is he to do in this stressful situation. The field is constantly shifting with amazing plays and evolutions, but Isagi, he hasn't really been the center of anything recent. Shooting him a blank glare, Noah just parrots back the advice he once gave him in the monitoring room. Bring me a winning theory. Didn't I already tell you this before? Noah cuts all the bullshit and straight up tells Isagi that he doesn't feel any of the same heat as he did before from him. The only people who interest him are those that seek to or can already beat him, so if Yoichi can't push any further, then why would Noah care about him? This causes Isagi to think back on Loki, Rin, and Shidou, realizing that geniuses are not logical players at all. They instead live however they want and play selfishly, which in turn fascinates people and naturally makes them the center of attention. I want to point and laugh at a certain group of haters for 1 second, because notice how Isagi groups in shidou ryusei with the geniuses. Yeah, don't ever disrespect my GOAT again. Anyways, with a blacked out panel of Isagi breaking down into puzzle pieces, it seems he has realized that he's not a genius himself, or so he thinks. Instead, he's just someone who's constantly been able to continually adapt to the geniuses he's had to compete with, or as he puts it, I'm just a talented learner. I want you to all take his words with a grain of salt, because I do believe this inner dialogue can't be trusted as fast considering who it's coming from. Isagi is a distraught 17-year-old kid who's just been shunned by his idol. Of course his mind is filled with self-doubt. This acceptance and placing himself below competition is good though, because it will hopefully lead into his evolution and the winning goal. Before any of that though, we see Charles once again weave past Ryusei, screaming out for PXG strikers to go rampant. Despite Isagi's best efforts to leap in, Charles manages to send off a pass here, clearly going to his demonic partner shidou ryusei, who's smirking at the audience. As he continues to sprint along while tracking the cross, Michael Kaiser ends up ruining all the fun and places himself between Shidou and the ball. He even activates his metavision and mocks their chemical reaction, calling it the perfot line. However, with Rin's tongue shown, the Blue Rose seems to be too tepid to compete. Leaving shocked expressions on both Michael and Shidou's faces, Itoshi ends up leaping through the air, trapping Charles' pass while fully in the zone. He even turns his head to face his colorful haired obs, mocking that this hotline was truly meant for Rin and the Contrarian, not Shidou. For some reason, Shidou then goes on to make a joke about Itoshi cucking him, but apparently the joke makes more sense with the Japanese translations, so I'll just have to trust them on that. Charles even sticks his tongue out while mocking Itoshi, telling them to both fight fair and control themselves. With Ryusei then screaming out for Basri Munich's defense to box Rin in and crush him, the screams are dulled out by absolute destruction. Rin effortlessly cuts past the first defender, and despite Hiyori and another awaiting him, they feel no hope before he even arrives. Like Hiyori says this in his scene unfolding, even if two people crash into Rin at once, the monster still won't stop as he extends his arms to hold both of them back. While those two stall Itoshi-Rin's attack, Igarashi then arrives to complete the box, mocking that Rin must hail to the three treasures. He continues on to call them a tongue boy and say that his brakes are busted, which does not turn out well for him, but I guess kinda does. With an angry expression, Itoshi-Rin goes on to lunge his full shoulder and body weight into Igarashi, knocking our poor monk off balance. He even continues to sprint after him despite Igarashi being on the ground. However, with a buzzing sound from the intercom, the berserker quickly controls himself. Basri Munich are given possession of the ball, as Igarashi has earned Itoshi-Rin yet another foul, so in a way, I guess he did win that interaction. He even continues on to mock PXG and their strikers, flexing up and screaming in superiority over his physically abusive opponents. Ryusei and Hiyori are both seen to be extremely surprised and hyped up by this stoppage. However, Isagi, he's just zoned out doing his own thing in the background. He still looks horrified at the thought of falling off, because if he can only make slight improvements on his already mediocre talent, how can he possibly hope to ever win against geniuses? Until now, he's just relied on his eyes and brain to read the enemy's movement, pushing him one step ahead into the future of everyone else. This won't cut it forever though, and in the end, it's not something special that allows him to surpass basic logic. Through persistent effort, anyone can obtain these average talents such as a direct shot, ability to read the field, among the rest of his bag. Sweat then begins to pour from his hair and head down onto the pitch, as while catching his breath, Isagi thinks about the world stage and how it's swarming with geniuses beyond his reality. Insane physical abilities, inhuman philosophies, incomprehensible impulses that drive them forward. Players like Julian Loki, Itoshi, Noah, and once again Shidou Ryusei are shown, all while Isagi thinks about what separates them from himself. He assumes that all of those attributes come naturally with those kind of players, and if this is a stage where only they can survive, he believes he'll surely disappear here. Everything he's done so far can simply be explained with logic and rational thinking, and compared to the likes of Loki's godspeed, Shidou's inhuman urges, and Itoshi-Rin's drive to kill, his imagination just won't continue to match up. He still wants to beat Rin though, and even still wants to beat the world's best like Noah and Loki, but he just can't imagine himself winning at his current state. Page 18 is just a complete panel of him breaking down in confusion, with sweat and or tears dripping down onto the pitch. This reminds me heavily of the scene where after the Nationals game he just broke down in tears and swore to create something new of himself, so maybe the same indication is here. He'll evolve and make something new of himself. For now though, the perspective just changes over to Jinpachi Ego, who seems to be watching Isagi Yoichi from Blue Lock's monitoring room. He assures him that this wall of the talented is simply a stepping stone to continue growing, because in the end, the world of talent is indeed hopelessly illogical. Loki's speed cannot be explained or replicated. Shidou's natural instincts cannot be understood, but reaching this wall will be beneficial. Only those who are faced with despair and nothing can then discover a new path and begin to grow again. Posing up for the final panel and sentence of today's chapter, Ego says that it's now time for Isagi Yoichi to learn the formula for evolving himself. The man clearly knows what he's talking about as he competed with Noah. In every 100 chapters or so, Isagi does evolve or develop significantly. It's now time once again for our egoist to create something new, or maybe bring something old and dormant out from deep within. But that's sadly being the end of Blue Lock chapter 280. I just want to thank you all so much for watching all the way through. If you want to continue to be updated while also supporting the channel, please click that subscribe button, comment below your thoughts, and even feel free to join my community Discord. I hope you all have an amazing day or night of rest, and I'll see you guys soon with another video.